All right, coming around at 9:36 here on Delaware. I'm Peter MacArthur. Hey, thanks for joining us. It is Thursday, October 8th, and we're talking jobs, like we do every now and again with Chris Burkhardt, Placer Staffing. First of all, Chris Burkhardt, I want to get your thoughts on, it's not by total circumstance we talk when we do. Just out the latest unemployment numbers, 840,000 people looking for unemployment benefits this time around. What are your thoughts on it?
Well, Peter, first of all, I mean, it's elevated. It's well above pre-COVID levels. It's well above what would have been considered record numbers from, any other time of recession. And I think it's fair to say that the job picture is challenging right now. There's a lot of business uncertainty. That means there's unknowns for employees. So it's not a very sophisticated way to say it, but you could say that this is a messy moment.
Yeah. What about a silver lining of any kind? Or
yeah, I think there is, and I think people want positive stuff. This is a number that reflects layoffs, Peter. So it's very clear that some industries and some government are shedding jobs, but it is equal to job creation elsewhere. So a flat number means that number of new jobs is being balanced with those that are being set aside for a period of time. The other thing is over 1 million people did come off of benefits. Mm-hmm. On the positive side, that means some are finding work. On the other side, you could say, well, maybe it's perhaps that they just stopped receiving the benefit. Here's what I think is interesting. If you're having a hard time finding something in your field, which is what we hear, I've never seen such a demand for seasonal work for the holidays. So whether it's big box stores or food or e-commerce, many are ramping up. And if anybody wants to call anybody at Placers, we'd be happy to make those connections, whether we serve those businesses and industries or not. But that is the reality. There is work. I didn't say career, but there is work for those that simply need to make that choice.
Yeah, that's a great point, Chris. What occurs to me is people lose their jobs, and I think more and more as time goes on, you have more people that almost autopilot into an Indeed.com, a Monster, a Glassdoor, and that's where their search is, and that can also be where their application is. And yet, Chris, why does it seem better that even though that is becoming more of a standard, to get introduced to get a job rather than applying online?
Well, you're right. Today, everything's a digital internet thing. So we get on a job board and we submit, and we have this short-term kind of sort of adrenaline rush, like we feel like we've taken action. I think that's pretty normal. Everybody feels that. But the problem is you don't know where that application and or resume is going. It's being housed in technology, and there's a lot of thoughts that even if a human views your resume or application, they may give it between 30 seconds and 2 minutes. That's a pretty big notion if you think about it. But anytime you can get introduced directly to a company or a hiring manager, you have a much higher chance of getting the interview. And I know we've talked a bit about this in the past, but you're not skipping the conversation with that personnel department or human resources or a recruiter. This is a way to perhaps get the job that isn't posted. So what do I mean? A lot of times hiring managers look for set skill sets and experiences all the time. They don't necessarily have a job posted because they may have 20 or 30 or 50 or 100 of this skill set.
Right.
But if you have that background or skill set, they will create the interview and perhaps even the job for you.
The who you know is alive and well, huh?
Well, we've talked a bit about networking, and everybody rolls their eyes at networking. But there is a reason that people say, Peter, if you ever need something, call me. If you ever want to have coffee, let's get together. That's something that you should always be cultivating and take advantage of. And one of the things I always am known for is I see people that focus on networking when they have a need. Mm-hmm. If you can do a little bit all the time when you don't have the need, that network is there for you when you really need to count on them.
That's an excellent little tidbit. I like that one for today. What about the choice of people hit a point, and I think it's easy to get maybe a little discouraged. My point being this. when do you maybe make the choice, and what should you consider in the choice of working with a recruiter, Chris, versus going it on your own?
Well, Peter, of course, it's a little self-serving as I run a recruiting company, right? But I wouldn't, if I didn't believe in what we did as a way of helping people, it wouldn't be a topic for discussion. There's a lot of reasons why you work with a recruiter. A good recruiter provides you input and experience that makes you a better job seeker. I never met someone who wants to get a job who says they want to be a professional job seeker. It's what most people can't stand. You don't do it enough to get great at it.
Yeah.
So they can help you with your weaknesses, Peter, whatever it may be. And I'm sure everybody thinks about some part of the job search that just makes it really hard on them. Maybe it's the writing of the resume, or it's how do I conduct myself on an interview? And as we touched on a couple of times, the world's a bit odd today. Now it's going to be on a video screen or a telephone call. And most of us struggle to put our best foot forward when we're sitting across from someone. Humans like to be with one another. Imagine the barriers today that technology puts into it. But the other key thing is good recruiters know the market. They can help you get the best salary. And as I've sort of hinted on, we know where the jobs are that are not online. One thing we do for people is we market you to our customers when they're looking for your background. So if you can't network yourself, we know people that want to see backgrounds and profiles all the time. And customers trust us to send the best talent, and we're pretty good at creating roles for the right applicants with the right skills and experiences.
It's got to be a pretty busy time where you are, Chris. I mean, considering the demand and considering those kind of things where you're kind of keeping people off the rocks in terms of their job search. You know, if they're in a boat, you're kind of keeping them at least in the water in a worst case scenario and not being their own worst enemy and kind of getting sidelined by stuff that doesn't matter.
Peter, I think there's a common reality for almost everybody I talk to, whether it's a job seeker or another business owner or customer or even placers, as you're referencing. We're all working much harder at everything for a little less return. That's what these times are. Everything's more complex, and I hear it from job seekers and my team. You're right. We are definitely on the treadmill running really fast. We do help a lot of people, but that's sort of what this time is, a complex time. As I said, it's a little messy. There's some good, there's some bad, which makes it really hard to get a handle on. I think that's the toughest part about it. It's on kind of shifting sands.
Well, what I like about when we talk, Chris, is when we leave, I feel as though we've offered up some help to people who might be in a difficult spot, who've been looking for a while, but at least giving them some information about resources they should consider to use. And I think that serves a great purpose. So I appreciate you coming on, and we'll talk again soon.
Peter, thank you very much. And if anybody needs anything related to job search or if they're considering maybe the entrepreneurial path, it's pretty simple. Just get on the Internet, Placers Act of Kindness or myplacers.com, and we'll get you to the right human to help you out.
All right. Very good. Chris Burkhardt joining us from Placer Staffing in Newark.